energy and that emotion and that sentiment
Still,
exists.
yeah, it's still there.
But at the at
That level.
at number one,
Yeah.
I mean, I can see that it exists, and he's like number 4 on the list, or
Yeah.
racing third. But that
On one.
that sentiment, no Muslims in the country.
Right.
I mean, this just. I mean, even the.
The scary thing is, if it ends up being him against Hillary, he actually has a chance to win.
Yeah, that's
Because he's more entertaining.
Yeah. Not only that, but if it's him against Sanders, he has a chance to win because people are going to, because he's a socialist.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'm planning on writing soon, my question really is capitalism, is it anti-Christianity? I mean, when you think about the founder, or the father of capitalism, Milton Friedman, he's constantly putting forth that capitalism doesn't work without greed. Greed in the form of capitalism, greed is good. The scripture clearly says that greed is not good.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I wish people could see that, democracy really falls more in line with a socialist stance, a socialist understanding of the economy, at least more so than greed.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's the only way to look at capitalism, but
Yeah, it's scary.
greed is not good. Well, you know what? This is Art Life Live. You're with me, you know me, Sir Bailey, and the great Sheldon Reynolds. Sheldon Reynolds played guitar with Earth, Wind & Fire for years.
You see?
And really so much that you don't know about Mr. Reynolds, so we hope you learn it now. But our focus in Art Life is the art that inspires incredible people like Sheldon. Sheldon, tell us what's some things that you're doing now in your life.
I'm trying to be, like I have come from a history of great inspirers. I want to inspire young people to believe they can do more than just the obvious, that they don't have to accept what sometimes media puts on them as being that they're not going to be nothing, and that that their generation is screwed up and all that crap. I think it should be that if you want goodness to come from something, you got to inspire it to be good. And you got to make it believe that it can do the extraordinary. I tend to be more than just a musician. I also study the stars and all that stuff because it's God's creation, and in my belief that's eternal, and it's so fascinating. You'll never understand all of it sitting here on planet Earth, but the joy is in just learning stuff about what we're a part of, and realizing that as much space as we seem to occupy on this planet, we're 93 million miles from the sun. A few miles closer and we'd burn up. A few miles further away we would freeze. So we're so lucky to be sitting here as we speak right now.
Yeah.
That the next galaxy over is 2 billion light years away. It's 2 million light years away, and when we look at that and realize where we sit in this universe, and that Earth can fit into Jupiter 90 times, and a million times inside, a million Earths could fit inside the sun. I mean, what is God? I mean that's inspiring enough, So I'm just trying to be an inspirer now. If it's through music, thank God. If it's through relating things I've learned from other people who are the real scientists and theologians and stuff, great. I just want to relate that inspiration to them.
No, that's incredible. Some art that's inspired you along the way. musically, in terms of literature, film? Is there some things that you can share with Art Life Live that we can share with young people that they can look at and study?
There's a movie that I love to see, and I don't claim it to be the best movie in the planet and Academy Award winning movie and all that. But there's a movie with Jodie Foster called Contact.
Okay.
And I just say watch the movie.
Yeah.
Because it's not so Hollywood, space movie, but it is very realistically could happen. And I don't want to give away the plot, but it definitely involves the universe.
Okay.
So I would say watch that movie. I've fallen in love with YouTube because I can go back and study and look at things that I would have had to wait for on TV and rent and all that kind of stuff. And I follow educational and documentary programs, that are about space and history, because we've got so much history that about our origin as mankind and before mankind. There's so much history out there, and the mystery of how the pyramids got here, the Nazca lines in Peru, Stonehenge, and all kinds of things out there that defy logic as to how they were built, because it would seem that we couldn't have done that as in the human race as even today, but they're sitting there, and they've been there for thousands of years, so somebody did it, or they had help, So I once again implore the young and the old too, because it keeps us young when we keep studying and keep grasping knowledge, and keeps life exciting, to definitely reach out. And we've got with YouTube and Netflix and all of the new technologies, we've got a way of learning that we never had before.
Yeah, when you talk about the artifacts on our planet, one thing that jumps to my mind is Horace Butler's book, The Rocks Cry Out.
Yeah.
Have you seen this?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard
about it. Yeah, it's a recent thing. So I agree with you. To study, if it, be it human travel that we haven't really looked at in history, and the possibility of us getting to America before Columbus, and or beings from another place, assisting to be a part. Just the fact that our minds are open to consider and study.
Yeah, I think it's important that we be open to the great surprise, as I call it. Yeah. I mean, I've been around a lot of, quote-unquote real leading scientists, and it is only a matter of time before we get that hello call. It's just a matter of time. Technology and time. We may be on the wrong phone line, but out there somebody else is sitting there saying, I'm here, either Morse code or high-end Macintosh, So I just think we'll get that great surprise, and it won't be as long as we think.
When you were speaking about our one step this way from the sun, one step this way, it made me think about Naomi Klein's new book, This Changes Everything, about climate change and capitalism's effect. Were you into the science, the stars and things? Do you think Earth, Wind, and Fire led you into the sciences, or science has led you to Earth, Wind, and Fire?
I have to say, when I was, before I was in Earth, Wind, and Fire, like many people, the album covers was, what got me. I was like, I don't understand all this, because it was, it was a lot of messages as well as just, thought-provoking artistry on the cover alone, let alone the music. Because the music was stretching your mind as far as where you could go, where people said you couldn't go that way. Earth, Wind, Fire went that way, and it worked. They knew how to get home. If they went too far, they knew how to get home, musically. And in the artworks, you had just enough stuff put on the album covers to say, You know, look at what is possible out here. Look where we might have come from. You know, and it inspired people in my generation to say, well, what is that? Why did the 3 pyramids line up with the Orion constellation? Is that an accident? Couldn't be. Nothing that big could have been put there by mistake and just luck. Or just slaves. You know, it took some thought.
Yeah.
You know,
I've heard biblical references to those placements and where it's pointing to the east, and don't get me to misquoting it here on camera, but
sure. I mean, there's just so much out there. I mean, I've stood on top of the pyramids in South America, and they aren't as big as the Great Pyramid in Egypt, but they're not too far off. And I mean, it's awe-inspiring to know that somebody that was here did this.
yeah. Make sure you're still on red button. We're still good. Speaking of literature, something that young people, anybody interested, should read. Something that has inspired you.
The Bible.
The Bible.
One of the things for sure, the Bible. Because whether you agree with everything about it or not, is a great resource for understanding mankind. It's a great resource for understanding history and understanding the psyche of man, the ways of man, the ways of God. And outside of that, I would say I don't have a particular book or a particular media, but just try to grasp bits of knowledge from different sources and be aware of the source of that information.
Yeah.
So you know you're getting unbiased as possible. Just getting the truth. Because all we want is the truth. Whether it's about God, whether it's about our existence, you know.
Yeah.
So I would say that, you know, that, and trust your that inner voice. Because usually the inner voice says, get out of here. Follow it.
Okay.
You know.
A piece of music. Yeah, it doesn't have to be one. Something that had inspired you as a young person to start studying guitar, or moved you into a new direction in music.
Yeah. I've been moved a few times. I started with B.B. King. That was my hero when I first started playing guitar. And Tito Jackson, because I was wanting to be the 6th Jackson. So, but I would, to get an education on a well-rounded thing, as they say, study Jimi Hendrix, study B.B. King, study Earth, Wind & Fire, Sly Stone, and the Family Stone, all of that. Stevie Wonder, Aretha Franklin, Beethoven, Sting, and it goes on and on.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many, you know, and James Brown, all those heroes from that era, because from my generation, we were what I would call the peak of the learning how to do this thing called music. We had the old school from church coming in, because we were still in church all the time. We had the great jazz build up, and it was peaking, both in the sound quality as well as the execution and the emotions, because music is a lot of emotions. You know, one of the things that used to inspire me was your dad would say to me before we were on stage, go out and walk your stage. Make it your home tonight. And I used to try to do that because, you know, it helped you express yourself to the audience. You weren't so lost up here, you know, you're looking around to see where the cables are and where the end of the stage is, when the audience is, who paid to see you, is waiting for you to deliver your spirit to them. Yeah. You know, and I think that gathering knowledge from all these different sources is what will make the future stars and artistic people, excel.
Yeah. Two things pop into my mind as we wrap up. If you could touch on for me. Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
That was for me one of my favorite Earth, Wind and Fire albums.
Yeah.
With Imagination on there, and just I felt like, and there I think the song, the title of the group song is on there, right? Earth, Wind and Fire.
Yeah.
Is on there. Just so much. A lot of people when we that study the Bible and trust the Bible, and I guess I'm making that assumption that you trust the Bible is true. Mm-hmm. Start to look into the stars. Kepler and Copernicus got slayed by the Catholic Church, and
right.
I feel like even now, mm-hmm. there's a demeaning of people of faith mm-hmm. that also want to trust or even know about science. Do you experience that in your walk as a believer and as a intellect?
Well, my thing is, I constantly try to grab knowledge, and I sometimes have questions about, Genesis and Exodus and all the different aspects of the Bible, because I question everything. You'll find that I'm like, I just don't read it and say I go with that just because I read it.
I get you.
I got to know why. That's just my nature.
Yes. Yes.
That's my nature. So, trust it but verify is part of me.
I love it.
And I have become the thing I do with anything, Bible, astronomy magazines, websites that talk about it, or people talking, or whatever. Listening to other folks who are the renowned whatevers. I tend to say I'm a believer in God first, before anything. For the good book, anyone speaking on this planet, I believe in my Creator. And I ask Him to lead me through truth and false. Because if I follow myself, I'm going to keep falling down every time. Because I don't know what's out there. I don't know for sure. All I know is what I'm trusting, what I've been taught.
Yeah.
And who knows? Some of what I've been taught may be the truth. Some of it may be just tradition that is not the truth. But if I trust the one that did it, at least I know I'm on the right path. Whether I completely understand it or I'm lost as heck. As long as I know that He said go that way, then keep going that way, even if you don't know where you're going. You trust your parents when you're little. You don't know where you're going, but because you trust them, you follow. As you get older and get, stupider, you start falling because you start experimenting your own way. But you have been built with enough knowledge at that point to get up and say, okay, let's figure it out. And that's all I hope spiritually to do, is to say, if I fall, help me get up and figure out the right way.
Yes.
Because
we all fall.
We're gonna fall.
We're gonna fall.
I mean, that's just natural. But getting up and figuring out the right way, that's the trick. That's the EWF, the elements.
Is there a place where young people can follow you, blogging or anything like that?
Say hello on Facebook. I mean, I answer my own letters. If you send me a letter, I usually answer it myself.
Sheldon, Sheldon.
Reynolds, Reynolds.
Thank you. ArtLifeLive.